Good afternoon. Welcome to the IBEW 595 Union Hall. This is a hall that I know quite well. When I was a teenager, I worked out of this hall on behalf of a local city council candidate, and for over the past 20 years have worked to support the work of this union and the work and campaigns of other candidates around here. So a very fitting and comfortable place for me and my family and my campaign team to work out of for our campaign. We started about 3 months ago a presidential campaign believing that we must bring the promise of America to all Americans. The idea is that no matter who you are, who you love, where you're from, what your parents did, your hard work should mean you do better for yourself and dream bigger for your kids. It was a promise I saw fulfilled for my parents as they raised me and my 3 brothers here in Dublin, California. My dad was a cop, my mom worked a number of different jobs, and they believed that they worked hard enough I could be the first in the family to go to college. And that was achieved for us. But with my eyes open, going to college and law school and working as a prosecutor and serving as a city councilman in this community, I saw all the people who did not have that promise fulfilled. So I went to Congress. In this past midterm election, I would come home for town halls and meet with my constituents. And at almost every town hall, with hundreds of people filling up gymnasiums and churches, I was told that the most important thing I could do as their congressman was to reverse the course our country was taking, go out and find new friends, and reshape the Congress. So for 2 years, I went to 26 states, led an effort called Future 40 to find 40 candidates in their 40s and under who could flip 40 seats. 28 of them won. I also, after being so demoralized, just like so many of you, by mass shooting after mass shooting after mass shooting in America, was about to lose hope. And then Parkland happened. And the communities of Parkland converged with communities in Sandy Hook and cities where we never hear the names and never know the stories, like Chicago and Baltimore and Miami and Oakland. And they marched from the town squares to the town halls to the ballot boxes. And they beat 18 NRA-endorsed members of Congress. We had momentum after the last midterm election. And I believe the best way to seize that momentum with a young, diverse caucus for the Democratic Party and 18 fewer NRA members in Congress was to have a leader in the White House who could seize that momentum. That's why I chose to run for president. I was excited by what I saw across the country over the last 3 months, building on the work we did for the midterms in the last 2 years. I told my wife and our staff and my constituents and our supporters we were only running for one reason: to win and to make a difference. Not a vanity project, not to write a book, not to make this about anything other than the people who really, really needed that promise to be fulfilled for them. So being honest with ourselves, we had to look at how much money we were raising, where we were in the polls. And to prove we were serious, we qualified for the debates immediately, made the first cut, got on the debate stage, had a campaign operation with staff in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, New York, Washington, and California, and moved the needle on the debate stage on an issue that I was very passionate about, believing that every candidate should pledge that they would support a ban and buyback of the 15 million assault weapons in our country. And on the one opportunity I had to do that, our 3 frontrunners that were on the stage with me, Vice President Biden, Senator Sanders, and Senator Harris, all 3 said that they supported that. So we've achieved that. Communities across America who have been stricken by mass shootings now know that at least 3 of the frontrunners support this idea that these weapons of war do not belong in our community. But we have to be honest about our own candidacy's viability. You know, an American author, Louis L'Amour, wrote in The Lonely Mountain, "There will be a time when you believe everything is over. That will be the beginning." Today ends our presidential campaign, but it is the beginning of an opportunity in Congress with a new perspective, shaped by the lives that have touched mine and our campaign throughout these last 3 months, to bring that promise of America to all Americans, to believe that it will be the next generation whose leadership will solve climate chaos, bring cures in our lifetime for health care, address the student loan debt crisis, and make sure that we say enough is enough. We don't have to live this way anymore, and that we love our children more than we love our guns. I'm fired up to do that work that I've already been doing in the Congress, to go back to Washington on the House Judiciary Committee, the House Intelligence Committee, and as the chair of the Steering and Policy Committee, to work on these issues, but to carry the stories of so many people I've met across America. I also want to thank my wife, Brittany, our kids, Nelson and Cricket. They were a lot of fun on the road. My wife was a hell of a surrogate for us. She was a mom who had a full-time job and put everything into her husband's campaign. I also want to thank my parents, Eric and Vicki, and my brothers, Josh, Jacob, and Chase, as well as my staff, led by our campaign manager, Lisa Tucker, as well as our supporters, who made the small contributions, who knocked on the doors, made the text messages, believed in us every step along the way. Thank you. I want to thank the media, because I see the media everywhere we go across the country, carrying your materials and your cameras and lugging it through airports and trying to catch me and ask the tough questions that we expect in a democracy. You're not the enemy of the American people. You uphold the promise of our Constitution of free speech and a free press. But I want to thank, most importantly, my constituents. The only reason that a son of a cop who was the first in his family to go to college would believe that he could run for president and elevate the issue of gun violence is because I am around people who have this spirit of risk-taking and learning from their failures and turning them into successes. I grew up in the Tri-Valley, but it should be really called TRY. It's just in our DNA here, and a little bit of that is in your congressman. So I have no regrets. I'm excited about what we've done. I think it's actually fitting that today, as we end this presidential campaign, over the last week I've been mentoring and helping a working 34-year-old mother of 2 kids in the South who is embarking today on what will be seen as a long-shot campaign for Congress in the South. But what I've really enjoyed the most about my work is working with and mentoring young people, just like I had leaders work with and mentor me. So campaigns will begin across America in the next few months to reshape the House, the Senate, city councils, and school boards. And I believe that if those campaigns are run on the issues of going big, being bold with the solutions, and doing good in the way that we treat each other, we will see that promise of America fulfilled for all Americans. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions. Congressman,
do you know who you're going to endorse in this field?
I don't know yet. I'm really impressed by this field. If Megan Rapinoe gets in the race, I'm probably going to endorse her. I think she turns 35 next July.
None of the front runners right
now? You know what? I'm really impressed with the field. I'm not going to make any decisions right now. Look, it's a talented field, and that was one of the challenges I think for us was we had a lot of heavyweights in that field, and it's going to take more twists and turns. I look forward now to being a citizen watching the debates.
Following up on that question, though, what are you looking for as you look at the field and who's there? What are you looking for, and what you'd like to see, who you'd like to see be the party standard bearer? Who you think maybe can be President Trump?
I think these are issues of the future that we face, and we need ideas for the future. So, student debt affects 40 million of us, myself included. Climate chaos, we have 12 years before the effects are irreversible. Gun violence, as parents, we take our kids to school and we worry all day if we're going to get a call that something has happened. So these are issues that are new and I think it's going to take a next generation of leaders, and I really believe that the best matchup against Donald Trump is to have somebody who lives in the present but never ever stops thinking about the future.
Are you going to run for Congress?
Yes.
Are you?
Yes.
You said earlier when you announced your candidacy that you wouldn't run for Congress.
I had said that I wouldn't seek both. Our attorneys had told us that you could run for both. That decision wouldn't have to come until December, and that if we were still in it in December, I wouldn't seek both. But the polls have had their way, so here we are in July. I'm excited, as I said, to continue this work. I'm going to leave here. I'm going to an immigration roundtable to address the border crisis, which affects our district with so many migrants and their families coming here. So yes, I'm excited to do that work. And as I said, it's not just running for re-election. It will be imminent issues like the work we have on the Judiciary Committee and Special Counsel Mueller coming before Congress next week.
Congressman, it's not easy to run for president, especially in such a crowded field. What's your biggest takeaway? What lessons did you value from this experience?
Yeah, people really do trust you when they get those opportunities face to face. They tell you things that they probably only tell their spouses, and they're really counting on you, and they still believe that this is a country, of fairness and order and laws, and they're counting on it being that way. And so I don't want to let folks like that down. That's why I get so frustrated with the president. As you see, you stand in the living rooms of hardworking Americans. You see how hard they've worked to buy their home. They're not asking to live a lavish life and be a member at Mar-a-Lago, but they just want to know that their prescription drugs aren't going to bankrupt them. And so they just want you to be straight. They want honesty in their politicians, and they want equal opportunity in their own lives.
Well, what about you personally? Was it a grind? Was it fun?
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was fun to have my 2-year-old and my 8-month-old out there with me. And in some of these living rooms, you walk in and they immediately jump up to take the kids. It's like they're measuring and weighing your kids as much as they're measuring and weighing the candidates. If I have any regret, it's that my kids won't remember this at all. But I hope they're proud of why I ran and what it meant to other families who wanted a champion on gun safety.
Do you think the message for the Democrats is getting out to beat Trump, or is all of this picking at one another, which always happens this early on, is doing more damage?
We need a candidate who's tested. I'll tell you that much, because Donald Trump is the best political puncher ever in American politics. And so whoever we send to that debate stage with President Trump is going to have to be able to take a punch, throw a punch, and then unite the country at the end of the campaign. And that's going to be a very special person. And so I think this is okay. This is needed. I think weaknesses will be flushed out, and a leader will emerge.
Congressman, do you think, what's your message to some of your fellow candidates who are also perhaps polling at lower numbers? Do you think it's too crowded of a field and it's time for others to follow your lead and back out?
It's really a personal decision. We looked at the upcoming debate and the September debate, and we had the money in our account to continue to try and qualify for the upcoming debate. But we believe that even if we had done that, that when you look at the September debate, it just wouldn't add up. And so, again, we wanted to be honest with ourselves and with our supporters. If there was a viable chance, I would not be standing here today. I would, from day one, was running to win. And if that's what others are doing, then I'm sure they're assessing their chances as well. But as soon as it doesn't look like you're likely to win, at least in my case, I didn't want to mislead my family, my staff, our supporters, my constituents.
Why do you think your campaign didn't take off? What do you think voters are looking for?
I think it is a crowded field, and you had people who, have had, high name recognition. 2 of the candidates have run for president before that I stood on the stage with. We have a senator in California who's running, she's quite talented and quite popular. So, I'll leave it to analysts to determine that. I'm proud of the issues we ran on and the team that we had behind us. I just wish I could have done more for them in those issues.
Congressman, what were the thresholds that you failed to meet? Threshold of thresholds, was it the fundraising, polling, number of donors? When did you decide, all right, I'm not going to be able to continue this thing?
Yeah, the polling wasn't moving after the debates, and the donor number was always going up, but it was never going to reach the point where we could qualify for the the September debate is 130,000, and I'll be honest, I welcome those thresholds. Just as someone who's putting everything into it, expecting your family and your staff and your volunteers to put everything into it. Like, we didn't want to just screw around here. We wanted to grow with the thresholds, and if we didn't, we were going to get out. And so those thresholds, I think, are fair, and it's the best way to narrow the field. Yeah, Joe.
Eric, how much did you raise last quarter? And also, you went hard at the NRA in the campaign. Should they take this as a win?
They're at bankruptcy court right now, so you could ask them there. Look, I think the win against the NRA is really from Moms Demand Action, the Giffords Group, Everytown, March for Our Lives, Brady. They've put them on the ropes, and I was just a part of that effort and inspired by that effort. For us, the final numbers will come out, I think, in a week. I think ballpark is around $850,000 is what we raised this past quarter, with just under 21,000 new donors for the presidential campaign.
Congressman, hindsight is 20/20, but if you could go back and redo anything in the Democratic presidential debate, your approach, the topics that you raised, would you have done anything differently?
No, I would have just, taken my kids out with us. They were really popular. We brought them out more.
Are you at all concerned about any backlash in the district from people who, you're obviously very popular here, but that it could damage you as you run for re-election, that you might have a viable challenger, and at least one person's in the race already. I don't know if she's going to stand or not. But.
I don't take anything for granted. I'm going to go, as I said, right after this meeting, go meet with constituents about immigration and the border. We've got a town hall coming up in about 2 weeks, so I don't take anything for granted. I beat a 40-year incumbent in 2012 who had taken the district for granted, and I hope the district sees that these issues that I was running on nationally were the district's issues, that people in our district have student loan debt. Our district is seeing sea level rise in Union City that could affect communities there. Our district sends their kids to schools and worries about their safety. It was a constituent during this campaign who gave me an insulin vial and said, please carry this because it's the only way you'll know how much it costs to me. So, the issues that I ran on nationally are the issues for my district, and what my district will find is a congressman who's reinvigorated and ready to bring these issues front and center. I believe because we ran a credible campaign, one that is ending today, but a credible campaign, I'll be able to advocate in an even more effective way for my constituents now. Yeah.
Have you spoken to Aisha Wahab about her campaign?
I have not, no.
Are you worried about a tough re-election bid?
I welcome anyone who wants to run. It's what makes our country great is that ideas are tested. I expect there will be other people, who may consider running too. And so I'm not, anyone that wants to run, should run, and I respect anyone who wants to run because it is a hard decision to make. And I expect that we'll have a number of people in the race.
Congressman, you're exiting the race as Tom Steyer is mulling jumping in. Any advice for him?
It's rough out there, but welcome to the race, Tom, and I wish him well. Great. Well, thank you all again, and thank you again to our supporters, our family, and our staff. Thank you.
Thank you.